This is Hiraya Podcast, introducing fresh, informative, and meaningful deliberation worthy of your time. Stay tuned, dear listeners, for at this moment we will be talking about our very own Philippines. In this session we call Filipinas, with a question: where did the first mass happen? Limasawa or in Butuan? A pleasant greeting, ladies and gentlemen. I and my co-moderator are delighted to present to you our History Debate 2023. The topic to debate is about the first mass in the Philippines. Is it Limasawa or in Butuan? And the motion of this house, the first mass in the Philippines happened in Limasawa. Where do you think the mass first happened, partner? Where are you placing your bet?
Well, I'm not quite sure as well, partner, but I'm putting my bets on Limasawa. I just feel it in my boat. Anyway, we have this debate in our special episode to know where exactly it happened. So without further ado, let us welcome the debate groups with us in this podcast. The first group representing the proposition would Miss G and Kato, Ms. April Maya Bendan, and Ms. Angela Casio. And the second group representing the opposition with Ms. Maria Carmela Asas and Ms. Zara Claire Burando and Ms. Giselle Canlas. Each of the debates have 1 minute and 30 seconds to present their own arguments and rebuts. This time, I will call the House to order. I will call upon Ms. G and Kato to present their proposition.
The motion of the government is the same as declared in the Republic Act 2733, which is an act to declare the site in Magallanes, Limasawa Island, in the province of Leyte, where the first mass in the Philippines was held in a national shrine to provide for the preservation of historical monuments and landmarks there and for other purposes. Our team would like to specify first the definition of mass. So a mass, it is known as a practice among Christian people to honor and worship God. For our argument, which is in accordance with the accounts of Antonio Pigafetta and Francisco Albo, who are eyewitnesses of Magellan's voyage. So they both stated that the first mass took place on the island they called Mazava in Albo's account and Mazawa in Pigafetta's account. So they both asserted that from the island of Homonhon, they went westwards towards the island of Leyte and turned to a southwest direction to reach this island. So based on the geographical locations provided by Albo and Pigafetta, the island of Limasawa in southern Leyte is the counterpart. Thus, the proposition team strongly supports the motion of this House that the first mass in the Philippines took place in the Limasawa.
Wow, what an informative claim we have there. We thank the first affirmative speaker from the proposition, and now I call upon Ms. Maria Carnilasas to open a case from the proposition.
In response to the first speaker, passing a law is not substantial evidence, knowing that it was not even approved by the executives and had no scientific evidence as well. Thus, we firmly believe that Masawa, Butuan, is the venue of the first mass here in the Philippines. And we are going to take a look at the accounts of Pigafetta and Albo. The word Limasawa was not mentioned at all. So how come you concluded that it is where the first mass was held? Also, we have the island name Mazao, a 2 to 3 syllable word which is much closer to the word Masawa. It is essential to correct history which is backed up by scientific evidence, wherein according to the Butuan City Cultural and Historical Foundation and the Butuan government, 10 of 1,600-year-old balangay boats were found in 1976 near Masao River, which is located in Butuan City, right? Now, on the statement of Father Fernando Collins, a historian in his work Labor Evangelica, he asserted that Magellan went to Butuan and there he celebrated the first mass and erected a cross, and to support this, Antonio Pigafetta testified that he gave a gift of certain things to the Queen Mother of France Louise of Savoy and the mother of Francis I. Now, Gian Battista Ramusuyo mentioned that a copy of Pigafetta's account was given to Louise of Savoy, whereas this manuscript was translated to French by Jacques Fabre and imprinted by Simon de Collins. Then it was later translated back into Italian version by Ramusio, and it was the basis of Collins' account. Thus, on the other way around, Collins' account was considered reliable, and there was a monument erected during 1872 to commemorate the first Mass in Butuan on April 8, 1521. And for this reason, we claim that the first Mass happened in Butuan.
Now that both teams have shared their stand, we are starting to feel the heat.
Yes, exactly, partner. I can now feel the heat. The claims of these two teams are really convincing, We thank the first speaker from the opposition and call upon Miss April Maya Bindan to continue the case from the proposition.
All right, let's keep this rolling.
Let's keep rolling.
Now I object to the statement of the opposed speaker. So Pigafetta provided confirmatory evidence in the presence of the two native kings or Rahas at Mazawa during the Magellan visit. So one was the king of Mazawa, who later guided the Magellan expedition to Cebu. The other was a relative, namely the Raha of Butuan. So he added that the finest man that he had ever seen in those parts, pointing to the king of Butuan. From that the fact that he was a visitor to Mazawa and his territory was in Butuan, which was in another island, in Albu, while in island of Mazawa, they met two chieftains. One is the chieftain of Mazawa and one is the chieftain of Butuan, who was said to be visiting the island. Therefore, the chieftain of Butuan was not in Butuan during the time, but in Mazawa. So in conclusion, Magellan didn't go to Butuan.
We thank the second affirmative speaker from the proposition, and now I call upon Ms. Giselle Canlas to open the case from the opposition.
Inaccuracy of the map and the calculation of the exact location of the island of Masao is questionable evidence to claim that the first Mass happened in Limasawa if geographical feature says it's Masawa Butuan. Now, if you truly understand Pigafetta's journal, it says there that the island of Masao has a great quantity of fowls, goats, pigs, and many more, especially gold mines. Masawa has it all richly, and Limasawa, on the other hand, a small and poor island, lacks it, especially the presence of fertile rice fields and abundance of gold. Also, there is an existing route from Butuan to Cebu, and these two cities have a great relationship with each other since then, that Limasawa to Cebu has none. And again, the presence of Balanghay in the Butuan is the most sufficient evidence to prove that the birthplace of Christianity in the Philippines is none other than in Masawa, Butuan.
We thank the second speaker from the opposition. Wow, I'm speechless. The two teams are so good with their claims, partner.
Exactly, partner. Even me, I am now doubting which side is right.
Yes, me too. Their claims quite changed my bet. Anyways, there's still a lot of hear from these passionate teams. Stay tuned as Iraya will get back for a few minutes.
Class, are you proud of our language? I am not proud, ma'am. Still, English should be our focus.
Yes, ma'am. Until now, we still belong to a third world country. Nakakaawa.
Stop laughing, everyone. Ikaw, Miss Alonzo, can you explain to me Rizal's quote? Ang hindi marunong gumamit sa sariling wika ay higit pang mabaho kaysa malansang isda. What was that again, ma'am?
Knowing our history shows love for our country. A reminder from National Historical Commission of the Philippines and Hiraya Podcast.
Alright, Hiraya is back to continue with our discussion about where did the first Mass happen, Limasawa or in Butuan. At this juncture, may I call upon Miss Angel Acasio to continue the case from the proposition.
So, thank you, Ms. Tracy. So, I disagree with the claims of the opposition. Ramasio's version of Pigafetta's manuscripts are not reliable. The transmission of text from Pigafetta to Louis of Savoy to Simon de Collins is without documentary support. Pigafetta himself didn't mention that he gave the copy of his manuscript to Collins, but simply a gift of a certain thing. So our claims from the first argumentative speaker was based on the original Ambrosian text of Pigafetta, and I would like to point out that based on Father Collins' account, Magellan and his men went to Cebu on April 7, 1521. But in the monument's inscription, the first mass was held on April 8, 1521 on Butuan. So how is it possible to go back to Butuan from Cebu for just one day, wherein Butuan is 236 kilometers away from Cebu, and the ships of Magellan that time is not that fast enough? And to add to our argument, on the same day of the Mass, a cross was erected on the summit of a mountain, and according to Francisco Alba, on the summit of the mountain, you can see 3 islands from the west and southwest, wherein Butuan can be seen in the northern direction. Based on the topographical details given by Alba and Pigafetta, it describes the present Limasawa.
We thank the third speaker for the proposition, and now I will call upon Ms. Zara Claire Birondo to continue the case of the opposition.
I disagree with the argument presented by the third proposition speaker. I claim that this Mazawa is in Butuan, and as a proof, in Historia de Mindanao law, written by Francisco Combes S.G., who worked as a missionary in the Philippines, states that Magellan went to Butuan because they heard that the king there was more powerful and they wanted to meet him. Now, it was said that their expectations were satisfied by the king, and there they planted a cross in a solemn ceremony as a sign of future alliance. In Francisco Collins' work, the first mass occurred the same day they planted the cross, and for that reason, we believed that the first mass occurred in Butuan.
We thank the third speaker of the opposition, and now I will call upon Ms. J.N. Cato again to continue the case from the proposition.
I object to the statement of the third opposed speaker. Magellan did not go to Butuan to meet the king there. According to Pigafetta and Albo's account, while in the island of Mazawa, they met the 2 chieftains. One is the chieftain of Butuan, who said to be visiting the island. So therefore, our claims is that the chieftain of Butuan is not in Butuan, but in Mazawa during that time.
We thank Miss J.Ann from the proposition side, and now I call upon Miss Maria Carmela Asas to continue the case of the opposition.
Our team opposed the motion of this House. We claim that the first Mass took place in Butuan and not in Limasawa. We believe that our sources are reliable and that Magellan landed first on Butuan where the first Mass took place. The monument erected was proof of it, okay? In fact, there are artifacts that prove that the first Mass occurred in the island. On the island rather. Now those are the presence of balangay in Butuan, which they believe was used for transportation during Magellan's visit. And again, the presence of balangay in the Butuan is the most sufficient evidence to prove that the birthplace of Christianity in the Philippines is none other than in Limasawa, Butuan.
We thank Ms. Maria Carmela Asas from the opposition side. Now, before hearing the concluding remarks of our 2 teams, let's take a break for a while. Stay tuned. Hiraya will get back to you for a few minutes.
Mommy, why are there so many people gathering every synagogue? It is to give honor to our Santo Niño, a resemblance of baby Jesus, the Holy Child. Mommy, can you explain to me the 500 years of Christianity? Is that the year of Christian faith? My child, 500 years of Christianity pertains to the number of years since the Spanish brought Christian faith here in the country in the year 1521 till now. In short, it's the birth of Christianity in the Philippines. Mommy, that's so nice! Wow, thank you so much for teaching me about this. I'm learning a lot.
Teach children meaningful things while they are still young, so when they get old, they will not depart from it.
A reminder from the National Historical Commission of the Philippines and the Hiraya Podcast.
Now we're finally back at this moment. Let us hear the concluding statements of the 2 passionate teams. May I call upon Miss Attendant first to conclude the proposition's case?
Now, in conclusion, Magellan didn't go to Butuan. That's why this team firmly believes that the site of the first mass in the Philippines took place in Limasawa because of the statement of Albo and Picafetta regarding the geographical directions and topographical descriptions of Mazawa, which best describes the island of Limasawa than Butuan. And to strengthen our claims, Picafetta's and Albo's accounts are considered as first-hand accounts. Picafetta's work is the most detailed and reliable source of information regarding Magellan's voyage, where the claims of the opposition are based on the second-hand accounts only. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss April from the proposition team. Now I call upon Miss Giselle Canlas to conclude the case from the opposition.
The evidence of Masao rather than Limasawa are as follows. The name of the place. In all primary sources, including the diary of Antonio Pigafetta, the chronicler of Magellan's voyage, the name of the place was 3 syllables, Masao or something close to it. Limasawa has 4 syllables and begins with another letter. Second is the root from Humunhun. Now, according to the primary records, again, the expedition traveled 20 to 25 leagues from Humunhun, their first landing point, to the site of the first mass, taking a west-southwest course. So if they had been at Limasawa Island, the distance is only about 14.6 leagues or 1/2 of that length. Moreover, the opposition team used a wide range of historical sources regarding this historical event, while the claims of the proposition team are only based on 2 accounts. Butuan as the site of the first mass in the Philippines has been a belief for centuries. That's all. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow! That was an incredible discussion. Thank you, Team Proposition and Team Opposition, and to every speaker here. This has been a very knowledgeable and insightful day to discuss with you.
Yes, exactly, partner. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for watching. Both opposing teams had shared their claims very well. How about to our dear listeners, what could be your decision? Is the first mass held in Limasawa or in Butuan? You can text your answers, and to those who are watching via FB Live, do not hesitate to comment your choice. Alright, this time we will end our debate session and see you next time for our another special episode with a question. Where did the Battle of Mactan takes place? In Mactan, Lapu-Lapu City or in Camotes Island? Still here in our Hiraya session, Filipinas. Once again, thank you for listening. See you on our next episode. This is yours truly, Curita Tracy AI.
And this is Maureen V. Cañete, now signing off. Till next time.